Good evening. My name is Debra Bowie. I have been asked to speak with you tonight on the topic plagiarism in the pulpit. What is plagiarism? Webster defines plagiarism as the act of using another person's words or ideas without giving credit to that person. That is plagiarism, according to Webster. The question tonight is, what difference is there between academic plagiarism and pulpit plagiarism? My personal opinion, plagiarism is plagiarism. Sometimes it's intended, sometimes it's not intended. This is why it's important that when we speak things we know are not our own thoughts, we should credit the person or the material where we got our information. Academic plagiarism is simply this, and that is when a student takes his assignment and what he, in the body of his assignment, or the majority of his assignment, the material came actually from someone else. He used it, but he did not quote or reference where he got his information. He turned the assignment in as though they was his own ideas, his own thoughts. That is considered plagiarism. Pulpit plagiarism, similar, is when a minister or a layman or a teacher takes his or her material from somewhere else or someone else and teaches it, preaches it, or delivers it to a group as though it was their own idea, their own words. That is plagiarism. I believe, my personal opinion, that plagiarism in the pulpit happens quite frequently. I don't believe it's intentionally. However, it does happen. I went to Christian Today magazine and I found this article in it. It was written by Jeremy Webb back in 2013. The title of the article was Tyndale releases results of Mark Driscoll plagiarism investigation. It goes on to say Tyndale's house publisher released the conclusion of a 3-week investigation into the allegations of plagiarism against Seattle mega pastor Mark Driscoll that drew widespread attention. It goes on to say, after taking the necessary and important time to investigate all the aspects of this issue, Tyndale's house publisher has concluded the following. The publisher states, pertaining to his Tyndale's book, A Call to Resurgence, Tyndale believes that Mark Driscoll did indeed adequately cite the work of Peter Jones. Tyndale rejects the claim that Mark Driscoll tried to take Peter Jones' idea and claim it as his own. Found another another article from one of my favorite pastors, and it's Reverend H.B. Charles. The name of the article is In My 2 Cents of Pulpit Plagiarism. He states, and I quote, he says, after stating his text, he noticed a strange reaction from the congregation. Days after he had preached the sermon, he heard that another preacher had preached the same text, and he mentioned that he had heard other people saying that he had plagiarized the sermon that he had just preached. after he finished the sermon, Reverend Charles was told by one of the ministers that another preacher had just preached that same text a few Sundays ago, and gave him a copy of the DVD. Reverend Charles said it made him very nervous when he had heard that. But he said he could not wait. He got to his hotel room and put the DVD in, and he listened to the DVD, and he watched the preacher that had preached the same sermon. And he found this. He says, it was the same text and pretty much the same message. He said it was even the same doctrine theme. But the difference was this. How it was organized, how the sermon was organized, the message was a little different. The homiletics approach was different. And he said another thing was different was they argued the message was a little different. He says, and I quote, later he concluded, he said, I preach what I believe the Lord wanted me to say, and my message was the product of my own Bible study and sermon preparation. Reverend Charles stated, this got me to thinking about the ethical matters of pulpit plagiarism. He goes on to say, all faithful preachers deliver an unoriginal, stolen message of the Word of God, biblically preaching simple, explaining what the Word of God means by what it says. And if we read the text right, we will find that the doctrine theme we draw from the passage will pretty much be close to the same conclusion. He said, in fact, if we come up with a reading of a text that no one else has ever seen, you're wrong. Likewise, most Bible preachers use many of the same exegetical resources. So it should be no surprise that you will hear two messages that overlap, for the lack of a better term. But he goes on to say, but let's be clear, stealing other people's material and preaching it as if it were your own work is wrong. My conclusion, how can we avoid pulpit plagiarism? 3 things. One is make sure that you teach and or preach your message or your lesson. It is in your own words. It is original. The second, if you use someone else's quotes or ideas, please cite where you got your information and reference the author and give him or her credit for the work, their work and the material that you've used. Lastly, but certainly not least, it is important enough to find a class or do your homework on plagiarism so that you can avoid the embarrassment or any kind of credibility that others may find that you possibly have plagiarized someone else. If you take a class, if you do your homework, if you try to do your best to make sure that what you're about to present to others is your own thought, you should be okay. So I hope everything goes well. Good luck. God bless.